Welcome to Paradise in the Pines, a podcast about the people, places, and stories that make this the home of American golf. Brought to you by the Pinehurst Southern Pines Aberdeen Area Convention and Visitors Bureau. Hello and welcome to another edition of Paradise in the Pines. I'm Phil Wirtz with the Pinehurst Southern Pines Aberdeen Area CVB, and I'm joined today by Ashley Van Camp. Ashley Van Camp is the owner of Ashten's restaurant, but she does so much more, and we're going to explore that today. First of all, welcome, Ashley.
Thanks, Phil. It's really an honor to be here. Thank you.
Oh, cool. Well, thanks. Well, Ashten's restaurant. Let's start with that. It's located in Southern Pines.
Yep.
It is your, you live it and breathe it. I mean, it is your life. Talk about Ashten's and why it's so special.
Well, we opened in 1997. My sister and I decided, well, I'm going to say she decided and she made me, open the restaurant. We combined our names, and she's Quentin, so thus the 10. And we had the restaurant until 2003, where she decided she was ready to move on, and I didn't want to do it without her. So we actually sold the restaurant for 1 year. It was something else, but I actually worked there, so I never really left that building, and then bought it back, and then it's been Ashten's ever since. We've had 3 incarnations: the original Ashten's with my sister, the Ashten's 2.0, which was just until this July, and then our newest incarnation, where we're doing a little bit more fine dining and real creative, specialized cuisine.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's a great story. I mean, really sticking with it, especially in the midst of a pandemic, most recently, obviously. I mean, what was that like over the course of the last year? Not just this destination, but destinations around the country. The restaurant industry really, really suffered a lot. What was it like as a local restaurant owner having to endure that?
Well, I think the one thing is that whether you were in a large town or a small town, all restaurants, we're in the same boat.
Right.
So there was a lot of camaraderie, a lot of, ideas and people to draw ideas from of how to get through. And we're still in it. I mean, the restaurant industry is still recovering. Every day is still a pivot. What it did for our area was it did bring our restaurants and our local chefs and owners together.
Yeah.
We've been real busy in the past year just trying to get going. But the one thing that especially in the beginning of the pandemic was that we realized that we're one group. We're one town, even though we're many towns of people who are passionate about their business and about food, and we had each other's backs. And even though we've been so busy in the past year, just keeping going, that was one of the, I don't want to say a bright side of of the pandemic, but it did make us realize that we are there for each other, and that we can have each other's backs. And the better all of our restaurants are, then it is the better for our individual restaurants. So,
and in a small community like this too, I think it resonates even more because, I mean, restaurants live on a thin margin, So, I mean, what was it like with these other restaurants? You've got Mark Elliott from Elliott's on Linden, owns Sly Fox, Chef Warren from Chef Warren's, Kurt Shively. I mean, he shifted from a restaurant to Grinders and Gravy, and now he's gone back to an Italian restaurant, back to his original love. What was it like on the daily dealing with people like Mark and Warren and all the other chefs? Give us an example of like where somebody was really, how the community really pulled together.
Well, in the beginning of the pandemic, we decided to do what we called the family meal. So we made food. So many other restaurants and even some of our food purveyors and farmers donated food so that we could feed our industry folks
Mm-hmm.
because basically they were all out of a job.
Yeah.
And it was a really fun and heartwarming just to see how many people came out and how many people donated. And, folks from other restaurants coming to, hand out the food and to be there for each other. That was a bright spot in a really bad time.
Yeah.
So I think as far as coming together, that was kind of the epitome of how restaurants can help each other, by feeding each other, because that's what we do. We want people to eat and we want people to feel nourished and loved and cared for.
Sure.
And that was a way to do that and to do it for our fellow industry workers.
Well, hopefully now with the state of North Carolina passing, they've passed a budget in almost 3 years, there is some provisions in there for some relief and not just loans, but free money. So hopefully some restaurants will be able to take advantage of that. I know Lynn Minges with the North Carolina Restaurant Lodging Association has been very instrumental. Has been working very hard. Have you had any interactions with her and how much she's tried to help the industry?
I am a member, and keep a close eye on what they're doing, and because I had never really reached out. Restaurant people are very closed off. We kind of deal with our restaurant on a day-to-day basis. So that was the first time where I really said, I need to become a member of this, because this is my business, and I need to have I need to see the bigger picture.
Yeah.
A broader view of the restaurant industry in general, not just my restaurant. So I will say for Ashten's itself, we applied for and received a PPP, which I don't know that I would be sitting here, talking about my restaurant if I had not, just because I was able to keep my staff. I was able to pay my staff through times where we were every day getting up and going, what is today going to bring? Mm-hmm. How are we going to reinvent ourselves today? And how are we going to make sure we're still here tomorrow? Whether it was delivery or takeout or, family style meals to go, outdoor dining. How many tables can I safely fit inside once we were able to be inside? So, it is ever evolving. And certainly wasn't a time you could be complacent and kind of, rest on your laurels.
Right, sure.
Everybody was in the same boat, no matter if they had been open for 6 months or 6 years. So,
and you've seen a lot change in this industry, obviously, since you first came to town and started Ashten's. And being in a smaller community, even the Pinehurst, Southern Pines, Aberdeen area, we really are a local restaurant community. You see very few chains here. If you're familiar with the area, people listening, watching, 15501 is an area, it's a commercial area, and you'll see Outback, Chili's, those types of things. And if you want to go to those, that's great. But I think when you come to a destination, you want to experience the local food. So talk about the growth of the foodie, this destination as a foodie destination. We really have grown quite a bit, even in recent years.
Mm-hmm. We really have. When I came to North Carolina, well, I grew up in Southern Pines, but I had lived in New York City for a number of years. When I came back, I was amazed at the lack of diversity. That was in the 90s. I really missed Indian food. I missed, some real authentic styles of food, and we have that now. And it's amazing how the restaurant industry has grown since the late 90s to now. We all, everyone in the industry, loves food. Sometimes we don't always have the opportunity to go out and enjoy other people's food just because we're working so hard. But I think as far as our diversity in cuisines now, that is what is going to make us a food destination, because you can't just have one kind of food.
Right.
You've got to offer so many different, not just cuisines, but styles, casual, fine dining, family dining. And we have all of those now. It's amazing. And the more diversity we have, then the better business will be for all of us. So I say bring it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're certainly, the CVB's behind that as well. I mean, we were really pushing this as one of the best foodie golf destinations in the country, but it holds its own as a foodie destination as well. Ashten's, everybody has their followings, but as you said, it's great to always get out and experience other people's food because we have so much diversity here. But talk about Ashten's. What do you specialize in? What are your favorite dishes? What makes your restaurant a place to go to for somebody that's never been here before?
So Ashten's has been farm to table since the 90s, since the late 90s, when farm to table wasn't really it wasn't a thing yet. It's been an interesting journey of building relationships with farmers. In the beginning, especially going to farms and saying, "Will you sell me XYZ?" And the farmers really not even knowing how to do that because they hadn't dealt directly with a restaurant. But because we were vigilant and we really bothered them a lot, I would just pull up and say, "Yeah, sell me these tomatoes today." I actually would show them what I was paying from, say, a larger a purveyor.
Right.
And I said, yours is better. Yours is fresher. Yours is going to last longer. I will pay you a little bit more. So I think they respected that, and we gained farmer team members really, who I still have to this day. People that have just continued to bring us the most amazing variety. And the wonderful thing is, they want to know what we want.
Yeah.
So we've been able to say, "Hey, can you grow this?" and then have that. And there's there's a lot of success stories in that with, I would say, Gary Priest at Priest Family Farm. Yeah.
Just going to mention him because his asparagus is amazing. And he told us a story where we were doing a video during the pandemic about, and we'll get to our Moore County farmers that are so vital to the restaurant industry here, that the local asparagus, the flavor that you get when it's grown in the ground and it's not processed, nothing sprayed on it, versus if you were to get it from Central America and through the traditional means, the local flavor here, and you mentioned, Priest Farms and their asparagus is outstanding.
It is, and we have served Priest asparagus ever since they started producing, and we never serve asparagus any other time of the year.
Yeah.
So you'll only see that on the menu when Gary has it.
See.
Yeah, there's Ben. So here's another. He's the next generation. Farmers are so important, and something that we try to do is make sure that they know that. Like, to us, they're our rock stars.
Yeah.
And they need to feel that way if we're going to continue to have farmers, younger folks go into farming. And Priest is another example of that, of finding their niche and going ahead with it and producing amazing produce.
Colin Blank, our researcher and social media manager with the CVB, found that picture, so he's listening to us. Colin, if you can find a picture of Ryan Olaf or Misty Morning Ranch, the ostrich farm, we're going to talk about that because in the midst of the pandemic, we'd worked with Deb Giffen with the North Carolina Extension Service, and she's an agent for Moore County, and we did a story with you in a relationship between Ryan Olaf at Misty Morning Ranch, and he runs an ostrich farm. He moved here from California. Him and his wife were like, "Hey, what do we do?" They had no idea what they were going to farm, and they decided to start an ostrich ranch. So I had never known, because I'm a city guy, and I didn't know these ostrich eggs, and there's a shot of Ryan and one of his ostriches there, but these ostrich eggs are massive, and a 250-pound man could stand on top of this egg and not have a crack. Yeah. So talk about the relationship, how you found Ryan, and how important ostrich eggs and the yolk inside that egg is. What do you create with it?
Well, Ryan and Gabby are, first of all, just amazing young people who did a lot of research and found something amazing in Misty Morning Ranch. Ryan is very passionate, and he really went out and found his customer by bringing ostrich meat, by bringing eggs to the restaurant, and by building that relationship. And we have continued with them for quite a number of years. We use the meat. Ostrich meat is a low-fat red meat.
It is delicious, by the way. I mean, very lean. If I didn't tell you it was ostrich, you would think it was pork tenderloin. It's that good.
Yeah, it's very much like a steak. And the eggs are basically 24 eggs in one egg, with an amazing, very rich yolk that is very good for baking. We make a lot of ice cream with that yolk as well. And
you need a hacksaw to
get. You do. It's a little. The egg. It takes longer to open one ostrich egg than it does 24 little eggs. I'll tell you, but it's worth it.
Yeah, for sure. One thing that was really memorable for me, I had an opportunity, and you'd partner with Ryan and Gabby to do a farm-to-table dinner on their property. This was before the pandemic, and I remember Elizabeth Hudson, the editor-in-chief of Our State Magazine, she was there, and she was blown away. I mean, just to be able to see this out on the farm, just doing something like that is so unique, so different. Talk about what that evening was like and how much fun that was to provide that experience.
Well, we went out early in the morning. Matt set up his little cooking area out in the middle of a field. And then, folks started coming, and we had hors d'oeuvres, and then we served dinner, with farm animals kind of roaming all around. Doing those destination dinners like that is so much fun. It's a lot of fun to get out of the kitchen and get out in the field. I mean, really, literally,
yeah.
So, and those are opportunities that, especially, now hopefully we'll be able to do those even more. And I think people enjoy being outside, and they enjoy being on the farm. And, that is something that you can, really only do in the countryside,
Right.
So we're very lucky that we have so many great farmers and opportunities, and there's so many opportunities to be had.
And we encourage people that if you want to visit Misty Morning Ranch, you can do it. Just Google Misty Morning Ranch. His farm is located between Carthage and Robbins at the northern end of the county off Plank Road, and there's a shot of Ryan and Gabby there. Those ostriches are fun. I mean, they like to show off. They know when people are there and they're watching, because the male birds will like to do their thing to kind of show I go, they're an alpha male. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not an ostrich psychologist, but I mean, they're pretty cool to watch. And then the little ones, when they hatch those little babies, I mean, they're precious. And to be able to learn that, and that it's an actual working farm. And Ryan will, if you want to go out there and volunteer for a day, I mean, I understand you could do that as well.
Yeah, just contact him through his website at Misty Morning Ranch, and he loves to show everyone what he does. And he's proud of it, as he should be. He works very hard.
Talking about being down on the farm, you like to get out into the countryside. You're a big equestrian person, love horses. Talk about the love of horses, and really this harkens back to Pinehurst history. I mean, we were known for equestrian long before golf came along.
Absolutely. I grew up riding. I always said that you either played golf or you rode horses, and I did not play golf. So I lived on a farm. I rode my whole childhood, and moved away. Went to college and did those things. But as soon as I came back home, I was back on a horse. So and that's something that has rubbed off on my son. He rides for a living. So it's still in the family, and we just really enjoy it. And it is yet another thing about our area that keeps our open spaces open. Right. It's not just the golf courses. It's not just the farms. It's the horse farms as well.
And it's not unusual to ride through the countryside and see people riding horses, even in the Southern Pines area. I wish, as you see a picture of some children riding horses, I wish we had more opportunity for people to go trail riding in Moore County.
Yeah.
We don't have that right now, but I'm hoping at some point we can get to that point. What do we need to do to bridge that gap to make that happen?
Gosh, that's a good question. Horses are expensive creatures. So I think that's probably why no one has opened up a more public barn, that and liability. But it is something that other resort towns have. Pinehurst had it many years ago. But I think it is something to look to for the future, because a lot of people do come here that don't play golf, and they would love to take a ride through the foundation, the Waltham Moss Foundation.
Right.
So that is just, another way that you could get people to fall in love with our area.
In the meantime, you can go to the harness track at Pinehurst. They do the spring harness races. So you can get a little bit of a equestrian vibe there. Again, you can see the horse farms throughout Moore County. Beautiful to go through, especially in the springtime when things are blooming. So aside from horses, you're also deeply involved at the Whitney Center for the Arts and Humanities. So they have a brand new executive director, Katie Wyatt. We had a great opportunity, CVB did, to meet with her. And she's got a great vision for a lot of things she wants to do, a lot of activities, because it is home to the Literary Hall of Fame for the state of North Carolina. But also she is envisioning, and I'm sure you do as well, as I believe you're chairman of the board.
President.
President. So to do more activities. So she talked about hounds and horses. They do a Come Sunday Jazz Brunch, which I saw you at recently, and I think that's ended for the end of this year. But look forward to that next year. That was a great series that you guys do. But talk about your role with Weymouth and how important it is to our community.
Well, Weymouth is our house. It is everyone in the community's house. It offers something for everyone, all ages. And Katie Wyatt, the new executive director, is really making sure that happens with our new music programs. Over the summer, we had art programs for kids. And I appreciate you mentioning the North Carolina Literary Hall of Fame, because so many people do not know that is housed at Weymouth. I mean, what a feather in the cap of Weymouth to have that there, and it's for all to see. And people will be amazed of the inductees in the Hall of Fame. They may not realize, but not realize that we have so many North Carolina authors of renown that are, been inducted. So I do urge people to make a plan, to call Weymouth and say, we want to come and look at the Hall of Fame. And
home to the James Boyd House as well.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. In the future, there are big programs for Weymouth coming. My pet project is Weymouth Equestrians. So this would bring horses to underserved youth. This would bring horses to kids who would not have had the opportunity to ride, maybe never even been around a horse, just because they didn't think that was something that was available to them. So we have a beautiful barn at Weymouth. The arts and humanities we definitely cover those aspects of what Weymouth is, but a lot of people don't. They don't think of the third leg of that stool is equestrian.
Yeah.
And the Boyds brought horses to the Sandhills area. They started the Moore County Hounds. And that is why we have so many horses here today, was because of the Boyds. So we want to make sure that legacy, that part of the Boyd legacy, is there for the community.
Yeah.
So we are working on Weymouth Equestrians to bring horses to everyone.
And if you visit, you may run into a rider in residency. I mean, that's not unusual to see somebody there drawing inspiration, enjoying can you talk about that program?
Yeah, sure. So we have quite a number of rooms, all named for authors, over the great room in the house. And we have the Writers in Residence program. Writers from all over the world come to spend a week or two writing and reflecting and just soaking up that literary, history. I was speaking to a writer on the other day, and she said she feels it when she's there. She feels that connection and that influence. So it's a really wonderful opportunity, not just for the writers to be able to come and spend time at Weymouth, but for Weymouth to make these connections with these very, important artists. So
I know you've worked with Our State Magazine and Berkshire Hathaway to talk about the destination, what you draw inspiration from, what you would recommend as somebody who's been a longtime resident of the Sandhills and loves this area so much. What would you recommend if someone were to come to the destination? Friday arrival, Sunday departure, in between, what would you recommend they do?
Well, I'm all about local, so I feel we're so lucky. We have 3 walkable downtowns, in our area. We have, Southern Pines, right. Pinehurst, and Aberdeen. All 3, you can walk, you can find shops and amazing restaurants. So, to check out each of those towns and to, explore. We have obviously the amazing countryside, taking a ride through the horse country is really beautiful. I would highly recommend that. And of course, I think that you should check out our local restaurants.
Right. Of course.
Because it's funny to me that when you go to a new town, some people will just go to the thing that they know, maybe a chain restaurant that they have in their town.
I've never understood that.
I haven't either. So it's like, why would you do that? You can do that anytime.
Yeah.
So go to somewhere new, explore. Whatever you have a taste for, we probably have a restaurant that's going to please you. So check out our independent, locally owned restaurants, because every chef that I know in this town is working really hard to put beautiful food on a plate.
It is an amazing place. And let's go back to Ashten's for a second, because something people may not know about is that you recently discovered, for lack of a better word, your basement, an old speakeasy, and started removing some of the wallpaper or the coverings and found basically these hieroglyphics, if you will, or these drawings. What an amazing find, and how I think you're trying to transform that into another kind of speakeasy. How is that progressing?
Well, it kind of hit a big roadblock during COVID, but we had discovered those right before COVID. They were hidden behind some old drywall, bookshelves, and we found a whole room of drawings from 1940. It was actually a speakeasy for Southern Pines, because North Carolina didn't really repeal it. We still had what's the word for it? Sorry.
The prohibition?
The prohibition, sorry. Well into the 30s and 40s, just because North Carolina didn't, repeal that. So
we're in the Bible Belt.
Yeah. So people found their little spots to go and imbibe.
I think George Little has a story about that place, by the matter of fact. He probably does.
I'll need to ask him. But it's some really fun drawings of horses and hounds and fox, and we really want everyone to be able to enjoy that. So that's my next project, to open up that speakeasy for everyone to be able to see a little history of downtown Southern Pines.
We look forward to that. Anything else you'd like to mention before we wrap up?
Well, kind of on that same vein, I recently found some original Glenn Rounds drawings in an auction, and kind of gave myself a budget, and luckily only a few people were bidding against me, so I was able to get 3 and they're on the walls now at Ashten's.
Very cool.
So I felt like they needed to come home.
Yeah.
And so there they are for all to see. And I want people to come. They don't have to come to dinner. They don't have to buy a thing. Please come in.
Well, you got to have at least a drink.
Well, that would be good. But I want people to be able to see them. So they are there.
Well, let's do that. Website?
Ashtens.com.
And you're located in downtown Southern Pines. Address specifically, I know you're across the street from Chapman's Restaurant. Mm-hmm. So restaurant address?
140 East New Hampshire, Southern Pines.
Well, we certainly want to make a reservation. We encourage everyone when they decide to come to the home of American golf to visit Ashten's, the rest of our local restaurants, and to really absorb what this destination is all about. Ashley Van Camp, it's been an absolute pleasure. You're a walking encyclopedia for the destination, restaurateur, horse lover, arts and humanities lover. We appreciate all your contributions to the destination.
Well, Phil, we appreciate you and all you do to get people to our destination and to really promote us. It's very important, your work. And I just want you to know that we do appreciate and applaud all that you do for our town and our area.
Well, thank you. You guys make it easy. I mean, it's our job is easy. You guys provide the experiences for our guests, and we appreciate it so much. Ashley Van Camp with Ashten's Restaurant, been a guest here on Paradise in the Pines. This has been Paradise in the Pines, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us for Paradise in the Pines. Subscribe with your favorite podcatcher. To see more episodes, go to our YouTube channel at Home of American Golf. For more information or to book your bucket list getaway, visit homeofgolf.com. Thanks for checking us out, and see you soon.